Thank you for joining us today. We're at the New Mexico State Roundhouse, and legislative session is in progress right now. Jim Williams with you. I'm with Senator Pat Boone, freshman senator from southeast part of the state. Senator, I'm excited to talk with you. I know that you've made a decision in recent years, rancher, and you decide you want to go up to the Roundhouse and try to make a difference. Why did you make that decision?
Well, Jim, I've been a public servant for 45 years. I've served I got on my first board when I was 25. I got on the local soil and water conservation board, and that was followed up by the school board. That was followed up by the rural electric board, and I'm really active in New Mexico cattle growers. I served on their executive board for 11 years, served as president-elect. Part of the president-elect's job is to be the chief lobbyist for New Mexico cattle growers and participate in the ag group up here in the lobbying efforts during the session. So I had spent 2 sessions, I think it was 10 and 11, up here lobbying for cattle growers. So I knew the drill, or I know the drill and the basic things. But all I had to worry about then was New Mexico cattle growers and ag group concerns. And now I have all these other things coming at me, and I have people ask me pretty often, what's the biggest thing you don't like about being up here? And it's quite simply an information overload. There's just too much coming at me continually. And a lot of it is stuff that I'm not really familiar with. So I kind of have to dig into it and try to figure out something about it where I can make intelligent decisions. But at the end of those 45 years, I turned 70 years old, and I thought, I'm through. I've got a couple of grandkids, and I'm going to concentrate on them. I'm going to take my wife and maybe travel a little bit and do some things, and I just was inspired to do it, and I truly believe it was a calling from God. I think He impressed upon me the need for my presence up here, and He said, go there and I'll guide you and lead you.
Well, this is not a question that's on our little list here, but I'm just thinking about cattle growers. Are all cattle growers Republicans?
No, they're not.
And so that leads me into, you probably have a lot of really good friends that are on the Democrat side of the aisle, maybe independents, et cetera. Do you see people working together here, or would you like to see it improve?
I don't see it near as good as it needs to be. There's a camaraderie here between both sides until it gets down to business. And then when it gets down to business, we're very, very sharply divided between the basic liberal concepts and the basic conservative concepts. And it just, the further we go into controversial subjects, the deeper the divide gets. And my family's Democratic. I was a Democrat, because my dad, my granddad, my great granddad were all big time Democrats, FDR Democrats, and then LBJ Democrats. And but it seemed like the party kind of moved away from us into the hardline, more progressive stuff, and consequently, I left and moved over to the Republican Party, and I'm just a conservative guy. And
how hard has it been on your family, the service that you have here at the legislature?
It's pretty difficult, mainly because not that I can't do it. I mean, we're doing it fine, sure. but it has put a crimp in a lot of things. My son is a college basketball coach, and I've got a grandson from my daughter that's a big-time baseball player. And we like to go and watch my son coach and watch my grandson play baseball. So we've spent a lot of time over the last several years doing that. Well, this has put a pretty big crimp in that. And I also run my ranch pretty much by myself, and it's not something that I have given up easily. I couldn't figure out how to word that, but I love my ranch and I love my cows and I love my family, So it's been difficult, but it's attainable. I mean, we're doing it to serve. And
Well, thank you for serving.
oh, you're welcome.
And I appreciate everybody on both sides of the aisle because this is hard work. And I want our audience to know that too. This is something that you come up here to do. I know nobody's getting paid an hourly wage. You're away from your own company and your own business. Let's transition now that our viewers know a little bit about you. Let's transition into, and I didn't have on the agenda to talk to you about cattle growers, but how are cattle growers doing in our state? Is there legislation that needs to be made to help them?
There's always things staring us in the face. Of course, right toward the number one thing that cattle growers works towards all the time is private property rights. We want to make sure that we protect those. We do our part in helping our members and even the industry as itself. Even if they're not members, we're doing things constantly for them. And things like the Endangered Species Act. You have to deal with the Forest Service and with the BLM and their changes and policies that change grazing, that put grazing restrictions on and just different things like that. But the big hot button issue right now is there's a big transmission line from the DOE that's been designated. It's just a corridor, and they've got it laid out, but it starts in southern New Mexico and goes east of the state line and comes all the way up the state line between Texas and New Mexico and goes all the way to roughly La Junta, Colorado. And it's just got this area designated, and DOE's put out the word that they're going to use eminent domain, and they're going to, when they need to, and they're going to take a lot of this land for a transmission corridor. Well, there's been varying experiences with people over the years with these things when they've been done like this. And this one is unlike any one I've ever seen before because DOE won't show up to the table and give these people answers. I've got a constituent in southern Roosevelt County. They're going to lose their whole ranch, their house, their home, their whole ranch if they condemn it and take it. So there's many, many others. They're not the only ones, but that's a hot button issue with us right now. We've got a memorial coming up in the morning that we're in opposition to that, and we're asking for them to come to the table and give us answers. So.
Educate us a little bit. We all kind of understand what bills are. What's a memorial?
A memorial it's a let me think of the definition. It doesn't go to law, but it's just kind of a resolution establishes a position, and then a memorial is just kind of a reminder of where we want to go, and we will go when we have more time. We didn't have time to get a bill, and really didn't know how to craft it and what to do, so we thought a memorial would be the best, and it just shows our position and just asks that people be made aware of this situation.
Well, and it sounds like this is kind of a federal thing, and they would be coming against representatives of our state.
Right.
And at least there should be a conversation.
Right. There does need to be a conversation. They just need to come to the table and help ease all these landowners' minds, because most of this land is generational land. It's been 4, 5, 6, up into 7 or 8 generations, a lot of it, and people are already struggling. The ag industry is already the cost, expenses, just out of the roof, fuel costs, feed costs, things like that, and so it just gets harder and harder. Plus, I think the average age of an American farmer and rancher is around 60 years old, and I think the statistic I read yesterday. There's less, or right around 30% are in their 30s. So that's really concerning, there's not a big push for them to stay, a big desire for them to stay on the ranches and the farms because they can make better money doing something else.
And a lot of us as consumers of beef products at the grocery store, we don't realize that could have a very significant impact.
Sure. Really, we in the agriculture industry, though, we're price takers. We're not price makers. A lot of industries can make up their product, whatever it may be, their widget, and take it to the public and say, this is $29.95. Well, we can't do that. We have some cattle ready for market. We have to talk to the people that buy the cattle. They've got a market for that day. They know what they're going to give for that given day, according to feedlot numbers, according to futures prices, according to just the cash market itself. And they make us an offer. And tomorrow it could be $5 a hundred less, or it could be $5 a hundred more. We can't dictate the price. We have to dicker on it.
But you have to keep your overhead as low as possible in order so
do.
you have flexibility.
Yes, we do.
3 weeks left in the legislative session here in New Mexico. What are you anticipating? I know you mentioned the memorial tomorrow. We'll probably have this published right after that happens. Maybe we can make a little comment about that. But you also have other bills that you're concerned about. We're going to spend a minute after you talk about the general legislative session, and I want to finish our interview talking about public safety issues.
Mm-hmm.
May not be that big a problem down where you live, but it is major problems in the larger cities throughout the state.
Right.
So talk to us a little bit about legislation that is coming up, anything you're positive about.
Well, I've tried to, I don't guess I've really tried that hard. It's just naturally come to me. The agriculture type bills have kind of gravitated to me. I've got one this morning I'm presenting about agritourism, we talk all the time in our ag groups and trade organizations. We talk all the time about we need to tell our story. We need to let the public know what we're about. And so it's just natural that out of that would come some legislation. And I've got a bill coming up this morning about agritourism, asking for an appropriation to establish opportunities for people to showcase their operations. I've been on a couple of tours back when I was president of cattle growers. I went on a tour in Albuquerque. It was amazing to see some of the things that people are doing with small tracts of land that actually fit into the agriculture realm. They're raising a certain kind of corn or a certain kind of cattle on a small acreage. It's the niches that they find to be able to supplement their living is just amazing. And so this bill that I'm going to be pushing today is about the agritourism industry and hoping to strengthen it with a little bit of money from the state.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I can't help but ask you about chili growers. We're always constantly talking about green chili, and
right.
There's New Mexico particularly garnered a reputation for fabulous chili, but I'm hearing that we're producing less and less. Why is that?
Well, the first thing that with it not being in my wheelhouse and not being a chili producer, I do have some really good friends that are, but I would think that the labor situation is a big part of it. And then also it just hadn't been raining. We're going through a season here of several years where it's just hadn't rained sufficiently, and that's been a big factor in my business too. But it will. I mean, it always has, and it's always come around. There's been dry spells, and I truly believe that it'll come back and start raining again someday.
How does the constituency, the caucus, either side of the aisle, how do they look at ag bills? Are you expecting resistance to what you're going to be presenting? How do you think that'll be received?
I think as far as the nuts and bolts of production agriculture, I think they'll be sympathetic to us as much as they can be. Because, if you eat, you're involved in agriculture. So you really need to pay attention to the hand that feeds you. And so I think on that side of it, I think where we're going to get into pushback is environmental issues is going to be the main thing. Greenhouse gases, climate change, things like that we don't, on the ag side, don't really put a lot of stock in. You know,
Right.
we accept it as part of what's happening for this period of time, and it'll change down the road.
Yes.
And they look at it a little differently. You know, they think every day is a crisis, and that's where our conflict comes in.
About the time we're recording this right now, I think the governor is talking about a crime bill,
Right.
HB 8. How do you
Right.
feel about that bill?
I think there's some really good stuff in there. We passed it the other day, and I think there's some good provisions in there. It's just not tough enough. Just doesn't go deep enough. Doesn't go hard enough. My dad was a district judge in the state of Texas for 32 years, and he had a reputation for being tough and lived by the law, and he was hard on lawyers, and he kind of raised me to have great respect for the law and for law enforcement. And I believe very strongly that when you do the crime, you need to do the time. And I think there's been way too much attention given to maybe, I don't really know how to word this to be quite right, but I think if you break the law, there should be a set punishment. I think you need to serve it, and I think if you break it again, I think you need to be punished more. And I just think there's been way too much of the catch and release, and I think the criminals just have too many rights, and I think the American public, New Mexico public, has a right to be at ease and not have to worry about going out just down the street to the grocery store, the convenience store, without being accosted or bothered in some way. And it's happening. You know, I mean, even in my district, Clovis, Roswell, the bigger towns that I have, there's lots of crime there. There's lots of things going on, and I just think we need to toughen up. I think we need to toughen up. I think judges need to be tougher on the criminals. I think they need to put them up for the punishment fitting to the crime, and I think they need to serve it.
Senator Pat Boone, I appreciate your time, and we want to make this tool available to you as you have press releases, as you have information you want to get out to the public. And I'm going to make this offer to you. I'll bring a camera crew to wherever you want me to go, cattle growers, unique farming systems, whatever you want to look at, and we'll put it up and we'll let people know about it.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
And we're ready to go.
That.
Thank you for being with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.